Good morning, everybody. This is Leona Delavai Scott, the Marketing and Communications Director for the Automotive Service Association. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining today for ASA's first online press conference of 2019. As you know, Ray Fisher has been named as ASA's new Executive Director. Ray began this role on January 2nd. Before I turn the reins over to Ray for him to make some introductory comments and take your questions, I just wanted to make a couple of quick announcements. We've uploaded a couple of handouts for your convenience. You can access the handouts in your control panel. We've uploaded a high-resolution image of Ray, as well as a copy of our press release announcement, providing you with some background on Ray for your stories. Second, I wanted to let you know that we will be recording today's press conference and we'll make it available to all of you by tomorrow, if not sooner. Finally, the format for today's press conference is going to be pretty simple. Ray will be making a few brief introductory comments, and then he's already gotten a few questions from the industry press as well, and he'll address those. And then we invite you to send in any questions to Ray. If you have any, please submit them in your question pane, and we will try to get to as many of them as possible. Again, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, and welcome. We're loving the opportunity to have this available to everyone, and I want to thank you all for being here with us today. I just took over January 2nd, and I'm again, as I mentioned in our live feed last week when we launched our autoinc.org digital copy. I'm really excited to be a part of the ASA and bring some expertise from my past background and involvements to the national level. And I'm honored to represent our membership and can't thank the board of directors enough for that opportunity. A quick history. My background is I've been in the industry for quite a while. I started in the dealership environment, managed in a body shop, and also parts department. I was assistant parts manager, and very grateful for this opportunity. I was very involved in the industry, and many of that I think Leona has already laid out in the press release to you. So again, thank you. So I'm going to get right to the questions that we've got, and then if you need any more, please feel free to put those in. But let me go with the first one. The goals for 2019, I think it's just not just for 2019, but I think it's the road ahead. And that is that we want to definitely engage our membership more and listen to our membership and provide venues for quicker availability. I think all facets of industry and businesses across the globe are caught in different demographics, different age groups, different mediums to reach their constituents or their membership or their customers, whether it's a repair facility or us as an association. We're constantly improving that, and I think one of the biggest things you're going to see in 2019 and beyond is the different mediums that we're going to utilize to make sure that we reach out to our membership and do as hoped to do that. But the bottom line is we're really focused on our mission statement and what we can do for the industry, and that is to enhance the professionalism of our repair industry. If you saw the live feed that we did last week, I'm all about that. I really believe our industry is made up of a bunch of professionals. We represent that professional group, and we're ecstatic to have that opportunity to continue going forward. That's what our foundation was back in 1951. And it continues to be that today. And so we're going to take those into the 2019 and listen to our membership. Not that we haven't before, but I think we're going to interact and communicate even stronger than we haven't before, because we're going to use different mediums to do that. So I'm really excited about some of those opportunities. As far as long-term planning into and major changes in ASA, I will tell you that the board of directors has done a strategic plan which again, I'm only been on the job for this my second week. But they've already set up a time in March. They're going to review the strategic plan, make adjustments now that I'm on board to represent the industry. You know, the board of directors has worked very hard for the association, and I can't say enough for thanks for the hard work they've done as volunteers. And often in recent months, they've been stepping into the roles that is what I'll be doing. So you know, the transition is going to be a little bit challenging this first couple of weeks, but I'm looking forward to it. As far as my experience is concerned, you know, I go back to after the dealership environment and management that I was in for well over 20 years. I had the opportunity to go to Esa Michigan and represent the collision side of our industry in Michigan. And so when you look at that, I became executive director at Esa Michigan in 2010. And during that time, we had talked about quite a bit, you know, because Michigan is a licensed state. I did some legislative work very successfully over a 6-year period where we updated the Motor Vehicle Service Repair Act, which is all about our licensing. We also got rid of sales tax on core charges, which had been going back to 1932 in Michigan. And we also did a layer of protection for repair facilities who follow OEM procedures on autonomous vehicles. So as the autonomous world comes about and we start servicing those vehicles, that's some of the things we did in Michigan. And I plan to carry that passion and that challenge forward, working with Bob Redding and our mechanical ops committee, collision ops committee, and volunteers. So the big message I have is we're only going to be as successful as the engagement from our membership. So like I mentioned in the meeting the live feed last week from Facebook, joining a country club or a tennis club doesn't make you a better player. You still have to be involved, but it provides the opportunity, and that's exactly what ASA does. So I'm really ecstatic about what we've been doing and what we're going to do into the future. My passion is the automotive repair industry. It allowed me to raise a family to where I'm blessed now with grandchildren. So I look forward to giving back to the industry, and that is my focus. So as we go forward, I don't have all the answers for where we're going next, you know, over the long term, but I will tell you everything is going to be based on our membership drive, their needs, and our proactive approach to things. I'm a very proactive type of person. I don't like to react. I use the windshield, not the rearview mirror. So I'm looking forward to the opportunity. And I know that sounds a little vague, but that's you know, my view. I like to be on the forefront of things, and we're planning to be there, which is why when you look at our annual meeting coming up here in April 30th, May 1st, May 2nd, I already put into place that we're going to have ADAS and calibration training there and talking about it, and we're going to do a live demonstration. So we're very serious about preparing the industry going forward. Education and training is what makes us all better, and that is going to be our theme as going forward. We're going to make sure that we keep delivering that in the various mediums we have available to us to make sure that we reach all age groups. And if you're thinking that it's time to maybe pass it on or sell the business, one of the things we're going to be doing at that annual meeting also is to help you on your succession planning. I know that's a topic none of us like to have, but realistically, like I mentioned in our live Facebook, that's something we need to make sure that we prepare, whether we're 22 years old or 55 years old or 70 years old. So we're also going to have that at our annual meeting. Again, it's coming up in April 30th. So look forward to hopefully seeing a lot of you there. How did I get involved with Esa National? You know, as an affiliate, we're part of that, and that's a shout out to the affiliates. The affiliates represent their constituents, which is the ASA members as well. And our affiliates work hard, you know, bringing local programs to the areas that they're in, whether it's a state or a region, or even just a chapter. None of them are not important. They're all important to help deliver that message, because the quicker we can get the message out, the better we all are. And going forward, that's some of the things we're looking at in the strategic planning is what can we do better to help the affiliates succeed? Do we revisit the affiliate model, which we will be doing, and how do we enhance that for everybody and reach out? So those are some things that we're really working on, and our success has been based on the affiliates representing their membership as well. So always reach out to the affiliates if you're in an affiliated area. If you're not, we're working on that. So that's some of the things we're going to be looking at and going into in the future, is how do we reach those areas that we don't have current affiliations locally. The experience, I kind of talked about that a little bit. I'm just kind of going down some questions here. The experience I went through, and like I said, when we started that mission on legislation, I asked my board of directors in Michigan, was that important? And the response was yes, and the industry responded yes. So that's what we did for 6 years, and it took 6 years to finally get that done, but we did accomplish it. And again, that's where Bob Redding comes in. He's invaluable in Washington, D.C. And like I mentioned in our live feed last week, it's not just about creating legislation, it's also making sure that we have someone there monitoring it in the best interest of the repair industry, whether it's the Environmental Protection Agency, whether it's OSHA, whether it's tax, or the IRS, I should say. It's important that we have that representation looking out for our industry, because sometimes when you don't have that voice at the table, the best intent for the goal is a common ground, but the method or the path to that is not necessarily user-friendly. And so Bob does a fantastic job of staying on top of things. Currently, he's working on telematics and who owns the information, which is a very large concern for everybody right now, from the car manufacturers to the aftermarket. And Bob's there representing our repair industry and our repair experts to make sure that that holds true, and we are constantly at the table making sure that's available to our, not just our members, but the industry. And that's sometimes where the industry doesn't understand what we do. We're there protecting you to keep your doors open and make you successful. Looking at a couple other questions here. What types of changes can association members expect under your new leadership? We're working diligently to be more interactive and more time friendly. Facebook Live is one venue. You'll see more of that coming forward. But we also know that Facebook, not everybody likes Facebook or uses Facebook. And it can be a multitude of reasons, whether it's generational or whether it's just insecurities or just not enjoying it. But we're also going to make any of those live feeds available as well, which Leona and her team have already done very successfully with the live feed from last week. So we're going to constantly make sure that that's available to membership in the industry, if it goes to the industry. But our focus is our membership. Our members are the ones who we represent, and in turn, we wind up representing the industry. So I'm excited about things we've got coming forward. I think we've got a great opportunity going forward. I like to use my passion and my background to ask the challenging questions and look at the future and prepare for the future. And in our annual meeting, we're going to be doing that. And so I'm really excited about that. So bear with me a minute. I'm going to see if we have any calls or questions. Okay, one of the questions came in was our priorities as far as legislation is concerned in 2019, and that is, right this moment, because we have a new Congress. Bob is establishing that in Washington, D.C., but we are working on making sure OEM procedures are the thing that we get ratified and use as a source, the proper source for information. And Bob's working on that diligently. And we're also looking at all the aspects that go along with that. And as I mentioned, the new Congress is in place. So Bob, right now, usually the first couple of weeks of January, he is getting acquainted with the new representation and talking to them about our issues. So I don't want to, one of the things I've always believed in is, we have a wish list, we have our goals, and we have things we'd like to see. And right now, Bob's taking that wish list and having those conversations to make it what we can as a goal going forward. But Bob's working on initiatives to make sure that we have that Number one, the access on the information for different technologies and the black box, for example, and telematics, and also making sure that we look at OEM procedures because the R&D that's behind that from the car manufacturers to make sure that we're at the table getting that information provided to you. Basically, kind of at this point, updating what our efforts were back in the late 90s, and that's one of the things I mentioned last week in the live feed. When we look back to early 90s, it was ASA at the table with the OEMs back then to get the information we have available through our different third-party vendors at this point, as far as repair processes and things like that. So piggybacking to all that, this is an update to that because technology has changed since the 90s. So Bob is making sure through his efforts and conversations that going forward, we're there at the table having those conversations with the vehicle manufacturers, with the aftermarket industry, and also with the Congress as far as initiatives for 2019 and 20. Let's see if we have another one here. Okay, the question came up about ASA Michigan. That's going to fall under as far as executive director for ASA Michigan. Good question. I will tell you that right now it's transitional period. This is something that the board of directors understood very well, and we had that conversation because, again, one thing we want to do is make sure that continuity is there going forward. And so when you look at what we're doing is, and for the next 90 days, I am in Texas as we speak. If you look behind me, this is my office in Texas. See the ASA logo right there? So I will be representing ASA Michigan. In fact, earlier this week, I was in Lansing because on behalf of the Michigan members, we had some important updates coming from the Secretary of State. I mentioned earlier that we are a licensed repair facility requirement in the state of Michigan, as well as technicians. So there's over 30,000 licensed technicians in Michigan, and there's about 9,000 licensed repair facilities in Michigan. So I was there because there's some new initiatives and launches happening in February next month, and we will be relaying that to our membership. So for the next 90 days, I may be back and forth to Michigan a couple times, but I will be ultimately down here in Texas with our staff, working on different initiatives, following up to what our annual, or our strategic planning will be in March, and updating of that. So I will continue to represent both, and even my members in Michigan have already said that this is great, although we're going to miss you, but knowing that you're staying in the industry, representing us at a bigger level, and they know my passion. They know what I've succeeded on in legislative and other activities in Michigan. So number one, I appreciate their support, and I look forward to the support nationally as well. So hopefully that answers your questions, but that'll be part of the restructuring we're going to be looking at too, to help the affiliates. Next question. How will your leadership offerings be different from those of the past? I have one goal, and that is to represent my customer. I like I mentioned earlier, I come from a dealership environment, and one of the things we learn in the repair industry is it's about the customer. And in this situation, our memberships are our customers. So, we're going to have times that we're going to agree to disagree. But I'm here to tell you that the board of directors really feels that our membership is extremely important, and that we represent them well, which is why they in the selection process, they looked at that. They also looked at some of the expertise of different candidates and so forth and so on. And I'm honored to have that opportunity. But my passion is about my industry. Like I mentioned earlier in the conversation, it provided for my family, and I now have grandchildren, and I want to give back and use my passion for that. I want to represent our membership. It's not to say the others before me didn't. It's just that perhaps their focus is around other things. And some of those, was some things that hit us pretty quick. When we went through the most severe recession we ever had in the United States, there was a lot of things that hit everybody. And if you look at associations across the spectrum, they all had challenges during that time, and some of them we lost them. And as important as a trade, that we have a very professional organization that's structured in a proper way to deliver the messages and represent the industry like we do here at ASA. And it's not to say that it was failed, but sometimes, just like in business, you get in that mode where you're just trying to maintain. And those were some of the challenges and aftershock, shall we say, that we had going on from the recession and some other things that occurred. But again, I like to look at the windshield, not the rearview mirror. Okay, next question is ADAS calibration training. What other product and tech training and education is the top for the next year? We're looking at many facets. One of the things that we've had a very good relationship for a long time is AMI online. We always endorse ICAR training for the collision industry, and there's many others out there offering training. But we're filtering through that. So to answer that question right this minute, I don't want to say something that I'm not prepared to follow up on just yet, but I will tell you that we will be delivering more content this year going forward. If you look at our Wednesday webinar lineup that we do, that we've been offering and we'll continue to offer this year, we're trying to hit every part of business, for whether it's collision, mechanical, whether it's office or technical, and you're going to see more of that coming about going into the future. And every once in a while, we're going to sneak a special one in. And like the end of this month in January, I believe Leona has just launched it, but she, the ICAR has some new things that they wanted to discuss, and we're updating all that. So that's January 30th, if I recall. If I'm wrong, I'm sure Leona will correct me and get that out to you. But so we're really responding as quickly as we can to the various needs of the industry. And again, just being the second week here, I am about training. When I was in the collision and repair industry as a manager, I will tell you that I was one of the first to have ICAR Gold facility in my area. I was one of the first ones to have welding certified technicians in my area. I was the first to have 5-star compliance with Chrysler Corporation. I don't like to be a follower, I like to be a leader. So that's going to carry forth going forward. Let's see, more questions? Mentioned ADAS, succession planning, and autonomous vehicles. What other issues should be the top of the mind for association members? Well, I think change. Just like us, change is probably the biggest thing. We're gonna, when you go back to the '80s, and I'm showing my age because I wasn't 3 when I was doing this, but if you go back into the '80s, when we were buying computers, they're pretty much obsolete. Because there's so much advancement going on at that time. Right now, we're going through that in our automotive industry as we speak. We've seen some things over the past few years. We've heard some things, but I think the biggest challenge that we have as an industry is making sure that we don't bury our heads in the sand, and instead we look for that opportunity of what's next. And that's where we're going to be coming into play. We're there already. We've got our mechanical ops committee does a fantastic job. Our collision ops committee does a fantastic job. They're bringing those important issues to us, and that's probably a good opportunity to segue a little bit. Our mechanical ops committee is made up of volunteers who are shop owners. Our collision ops is the same way. And so as we move forward, I want to utilize them much more. Does that mean we're going to address every issue that we get? No. But I was having a team meeting yesterday, and one of the things we want to do is we want to do some polls and surveys to get some things as well from the industry for your participation. And again, that's all about engaging the industry. So as we move forward, we're going to be addressing some of these issues. But I think the biggest thing right now is preparing the repair industry for the change that's coming at it. And I think we're going to have a tremendous opportunity to do that. We have the personnel in place to do it. We have the right people doing the right things right this minute. And a lot of this is what our annual meeting this May is going to be. If you look at our annual meeting, it's going to be, it's not a destination, it's a business meeting here in Texas. And so a lot of these things that you're concerned about as far as our future is concerned will be addressed and talked about there. And you'll see much more at our annual meeting about that, because we want to represent the industry. And by that time, I'll have had a chance to be brought up to speed a little bit about our strategic plan, but also we'll have already been implementing some things. And the autoinc.org was just one of the segues to the industry for that communication piece. And there's just a tremendous opportunity going forward on many more. So specifics, stay tuned. And again, I do invite, like I mentioned, we have a lot going to that annual meeting, going into it. That's where I'm focusing right this minute, along with my team, as far as some of the things segueing up to it or leading into it. We want to make sure the continuity is there, that we stay focused. I'm all about setting a goal, staying focused, which is why my legislation got through in Michigan when somebody told me it wouldn't. Like I said, I changed one law that was back from the 30s. And that was through a cooperative effort with Bob Redding's help too, a little bit on guidance and the lobbyists we hired. But I'm all about goals. I'm all about making sure that if they're a goal, they're a priority, and making sure our priorities are the right things for the industry. And so going forward, that is what you're going to see. You'll see that in the coming months. And I also invite you to join us at our annual meeting, which will be going, well, we should have the information first part of February is our goal to have it launched online. So we're finalizing some plans. In fact, in a short bit, I'm going to be following up on one of the things we've got going on. So I cordially invite you all to join us there. It'll be April 30th in the afternoon, May 1st and May 2nd, down here in Hurst, Texas. So thank you all for your time. I really appreciate you being with us. Love the questions. Don't mean to be vague, but we're dialing in. So we're here for our industry. Again, thank you to the board of directors. Thank you to our membership, and thank you to the press for covering us today. Have a great day. Have a great week, and we'll look forward to talking to you more in the future.